Hello, everyone. Welcome back, rather. Welcome back. Thank you for joining me. Um, I am going to continue on tonight with what we have been working on, which is our frequent asked questions Webpart. Um, let me see. I just had to send a quick message. Sorry about that. Um, so I'm gonna continue on working on the Webpart. We've been working on the frequently asked questions Webpart. Um, yeah, last night there was a bit of an issue, so I'm gonna be going over some of the changes that occurred last night. Um, there was an issue last night where um, basically everything I was saying, nothing was being heard, for lack of a better way of putting it. I was basically talking to myself, as I do sometimes when I'm on mute on a Teams meeting. So I'm gonna go over what changes were made last night as a way of a recap. And then we can continue on and working on the actual web part. My plan tonight is to probably code for an hour and a half, and then I did a little bit of gaming prior to this. On Twitch, I do a little bit of gaming prior to streaming the actual development. The way that I work on these things is I give you a real glimpse as to what it is to be a developer. I'm a SharePoint developer. So you get a glimpse into what it is that I work on through the day. And basically it's uncut. Like there's no scenario where where I am planning this ahead of time, so it's unplanned. So bear with me just a moment. I'm setting a couple of things up here. So yeah. So what we were working on is I was working on being able to add the topics. Then we would go over to the preview and you would be able to click on the individual topics and see the questions and answers. The objective is to make it look like this. I would say we're fairly close to that. I'm going to put it side by side here so you can see more or less. We can close this tool and let's make it that a little bit smaller, and you can see we have our questions at the top, and then we have our different topics with our different questions below them. Okay, the next thing we're going to work on is the accordion layout, but I want to go over some of the code that was written on the last stream where unfortunately my audio was not functioning correctly. And so you can get a general idea of what were the updates that occurred when I was making the changes, so that you could see basically what you see now. And it was pretty robust, some of the changes that were made. So let's go over that. I didn't check in the code, so you can get a general idea of the changes that were made. So the changes that were made were on the layout tabs. We added layout tabs. The tabs are basically these right here, which is right now it has the topics being seen. And then to the tabbed component, we added the layout tabs as well as the title and answer component, that question and answer component rather. So what we're going to work on today is to actually separate these. I wanted to create a different component for this. So I thought we had done a lot more than this, but apparently maybe some of the changes I may have checked in. I think the only other change was that we did was to the pill. We added the checkbox to the top right hand corner of the pill that you see here, the little checkbox, to give an indication, not only that filling it out when it's selected, but give you an indication that there is that it's been selected by having a checkbox over to the top right hand corner of it. So that is what was worked on our last meetup. Okay, what we're going to work on now is, the first thing I want to do is clean up this component because it's kind of messy. So we have the layout tab, and inside of the layout tab, that is correct, but on the selector we're loading tabbed, which is one of the layouts, because remember, we have our layout selector, our tabs, and we need to create a new folder called layouts. Let's call it layouts, FAQ layouts. We have our selector, we have our tabs that are again, we have our selector, and we have our tabs, and then we have the question and answer. Okay, and so we want to basically build our system to where we keep a clean development environment. Okay, so we're gonna have our layouts, and inside of our layouts we're gonna have tab. Tab basically has the FAQ layout tabs, which is this right here, and then excuse me, I think this should be moved, these three need to be moved into layouts. And then let's create a new folder in here for accordion, and we're going to move accordion in here, and let's create a new folder here for tabbed, and tabbed is going to go in there. Now in tabbed, I need to have the question and answer component in its own area. So in here, tabbed, let's create a new file and called question answer. Question answer tabbed. Oh, and let's just call it question answer. I'm gonna call it question paragraph because it looks more like a question with a paragraph. When we look at the question, we go to the topics. Let's increase the size of this. Let's bring this over right next to it right here. Let me close this. Let's close some of these pages out. Oh, another thing that I actually, before I forget, one of the things that I touched on yesterday was whenever you're working on SharePoint Framework, make sure you use these theme colors. And that basically looks something like this, you know, for the colors, like the border bottom, the color, theme primary, neutral primary. The reason for that is because whenever you go in and change the theme of your SharePoint site, it's going to look really nice if you can have your users go to change the look, and under change the look, they can select a different theme. And you can see that when I select a different theme, I have custom colors showing up on my Webpart, and that is actually something nice to have, so that way you don't create a static Webpart. You want to build in some dynamics so that way the users have the ability to change those themes and it be reflected on the page. Okay, So now this looks kind of odd. Oh, I know why it looks odd. It's go to terminal, add a new terminal, and we're gonna run go build because I think one of our CSS files isn't building correctly, and that's why we've lost the styling on the questions and answer. So we've lost our styling there. So we will be fixing that. Let me close some things that. Nope, everything's good. All right, so let's look at the code and see it's still thinking. It does take a little bit for the build to occur. That's why I usually recommend running the npm run serve. The only caveat is that if you have styling as we do right now, there's been some changes to the way the styling files are on the page, and obviously when I move them now, well, I have the problem where my style is now disassociated, and that's why we can't see the styles there. So it looks like it built. Let's try to refresh it, see if the styles are back. It could also be, I think I know what it is. I think it's the theme. So if I change the look, the theme, maybe that primary color is not. Yeah, it's not. Let me just kill the terminals, add a new terminal. Let's run serve again. Yeah, so theme, current selection is fine. We'll leave it as such. And see, let's wait for our Webpart to start so that we can see if everything's back to normal. While that's going on, let's go ahead and create our question answer component, because we have this question, actually it's called question paragraph. It's going to be React functional component, import all as React, and this is going to be a React functional component, and we're going to bring from tab this component setting. So we're going to import stack, and we're going to import stack item. Oh no, we don't use stack item, we just use stack. But we want to make sure that we only import that one part of the library. So that way we can, and then so the FAQ item ID, let's build our component props. So we're gonna need the FAQ item. Okay, so let's create our type, which is gonna be called question paragraph props. And we're gonna have our FAQ item. What else do we need? Let's tell this that we're gonna bring in the question paragraph props, and the props that we're gonna be passing are FAQ item. Oh, and we have to add some styles. So the styles were in tab. We need FAQ item, FAQ title, and FAQ answer, which is all of them essentially. Let's add a new file called question paragraph.module.scss. We add that there. We'll build so that it starts building our component style. Built successfully. I didn't see any errors. kill that terminal. All right, let's import styles. Not tab module. It should be question paragraph module that is CSS. And we're gonna import the FAQ item. And now tab no longer needs this. We might not even need the style anymore. We don't need this anymore. And now here, we're gonna be bringing in our question paragraph component. And our question paragraph component is gonna need the FAQ item, which is gonna be, let me move this, let's give us some more real estate to work with. Here it's going to be FAQ item. What else did we need? Key. Let's do that. All right, so I don't think we're gonna need anything for tab because we've cleaned it up. You see how much nicer this looks? We're also gonna create a placeholder to basically show that there's nothing there if, you know, they come to preview and they should say, you know, there's no topic selected. So there's a bug here because they shouldn't be able to see any of this. But it's working. The only thing that I would say is now it's cleaner, right? Like we have this nice clean component. You want to always maintain some level of organization in your componentry. And obviously tabbed, I don't think it's going to need, it might need a style because I was thinking that we should add the title at the top. You know, the user should have the ability to add a title if they want. You might even be able to make that part of the settings here. So the way that works is if we go back to our tabbed, we can have a title up here. Title. And oops, let's make this an what, an H, and let's make it H1. And I'm curious as to if that's the best way to add the title, because how much prop drilling are we gonna have to do? So tabbed is part of what? Tabbed is part of preview, right? So preview, we have the layout selector, and preview is part of default layout, maybe. Yeah, preview is part of default layout, and we're trying to get the title. And so it's probably part of FAQ Webpart. This default layout, and then what we need is the description, which is a string. So default layout, gosh, I mean, I guess we can do that. It's requested to bring a string description, and the description is gonna have to go into it's gonna have to go into our lazy component for the preview. And I'm not sure how we pass a prop. How do we pass a prop into a React lazy loading component? So we import the component. Okay, so we can just do it like that. Okay, so default layout is gonna have the description, and preview is where we're gonna need it. Preview is gonna need to have a description. So type preview props. It's gonna have to have a description. Preview props, and what we're bringing in is the description, and the FAQ layout is gonna need it as well. But here we're gonna add the description. And add the description from the props. All right. And then default layout needs a description as well. Default layout has the description as the last prop. So let's add it here. Description. Description. So default layout, preview, and then FAQ layout selector. This is a lot of prop drilling. I'm not a big fan of this, but I mean, what else can we do? Because this is gonna have to go into tabbed. So tabbed is going to need to have this is like really messy. I'm not a big fan of doing things this way because it's a lot of prop drilling. Oh wait, we just need it here, so I guess it's not too bad. Type tab props. I'm gonna need the description. Tabbed props. And we're gonna pass the description. And then this is gonna have the description. There, and then this is gonna need the description as well. Do I have it here? No. Type. I need description. And now here we can add description. We can copy this, add it here as well. And this is going to need the description as well. So it looks like it's prop drilling through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 components. It's not ideal. I'm thinking that maybe this can be saved in the global state. I mean, but keep in mind that this is not something that's going to happen all the time. So here you can see that the user can have an option for to add a title. So the title could be like, have any questions? So you can just type in have any questions, right? So now we have to center this. So in the FAQ layout selector, in the tab is where we have the H1. And I'm glad we didn't get rid of the tab because we can add a title class. So let's add a title class. Title. And let's make it flex and justify content center. And now we can import styles. And here we're gonna add a class name. The class name is gonna be called styles. styles dot. Why is it doing that? Tab does not have that. It just has title Webpart. Title Webpart. Why is this not picking the change up? Still, let me look. We have tabbed module.scss. Let's build it again. There we go. That's the only bad thing, as I was mentioning, is when you're running npm run serve, unfortunately you do have to build quite a few times for those errors to go away. But now we can see, let's go look and see what we find. So we go to topic, we select our topics, go to preview, and look at that, it's centered. So now you can see where have any questions is centered. The only other thing is we could do the color to match that of the question answer. Where is it? The question answer? Where was it? I gotta get used to doing this much faster. Question answer, question paragraph rather. So we need to do this as a color on it. So tabbed, we go back here, we go to color, and we're gonna do theme primary. And now if we go back, we add our topics, and then we go back to preview. Look at that. It matches the colors of the rest of the web part. That is just invaluable, honestly. You know, and any questions you need answered, right? Like the user can now change it, and you know, the users would be able to see that immediately reflected on the page, so they really get a general idea on how this is going to look when they're utilizing it, which is, you know, I think definitely a good thing. I'm not a big fan of this scroll bar here, and I think I'm not entirely sure what could be causing that. Okay, content area. This right here. Overflow auto. Close that. Close this. We add our topics. There we go. That is nice. Let's add a couple more questions under general. So if we go under Q&A, we go to general. So we have 4 questions. Let's add a couple more. Can I add more questions? Yes. Let's get some lorem ipsum in here to make it a little bit longer. Keep on pressing Alt Tab. All right, let's add another one. Back to the lorem ipsum. God, I keep on pushing Alt Tab and it takes me back. What are we learning today? Submit that. All right, so now if I go to preview, there's our 6 questions. One of the things that I think it's really cool is that this kind of has like a button where you can expand it, right? And I'm wondering if maybe I can get AI to help me with that portion of it, as I don't know. Accordion is not going to show anything but tabbed. I don't know if that's even feasible. Let's see. Maybe maybe it can. I mean, we can give it a shot. Let's close our sidebar here. Open our AI. Let's see if this can help us. And we're not working on default layout. Question paragraph is not it either. It's under FAQ. It's under tabbed. So here on tabbed. So we're gonna need tabbed. Gonna need tabbed module. And I don't think we would need question paragraph. Can you make the questions fade out after the first set? Just like the image, and add a button at the bottom to expand it and make the rest of the images, make the questions. Before we do that, let me make sure that what I like to do before I get AI involved, I like to check in my code because it can royally mess a lot of stuff up and then I have a hard time going back. Added additional fixes to tabbed layout. No. All right, so now that that's checked in, let's let AI help us a little bit here. See what it comes up with as far as, and it's part of learning, right? Because if you can see it stand out, you can learn what changes occurred. And let's see, displayed items. Is it still? It's still working. That's what. Okay, let's add our topics. That looks cool. I'm not a fan of the button, but that looks cool. Did you see that? Let me refresh the page so you can see. Click on, we add our topics, and check this out. So it kind of fades it out, but then this button I'm not a big fan of. But other than that, I mean, it's pretty cool. So now if I click on the button, there's the rest of my questions. And this helps because there might be scenarios where you don't want it to steal as much of the real estate that you have available on the page, right? So I definitely like the idea of this. I do think that maybe it could stand to be a little bit more narrow, right? So like if I go to preview, it could be a little bit more narrow. Let's see what changes were made and what needs to be fixed, because AI doesn't always get it right. All right, so fade out. It's setting the height at 150. Maybe let's change it to 100 and see what that does. Because it might be better just to be a little more narrow. Oh, that's not it. Well, we're learning, so it's not that one. Where would be? So let's inspect it and get an idea of what's going on. So we have our FAQ container, the fade out, and then so the fade out, does that have a height on it? There's got to be something that we can adjust for the height of that fade. So bottom transparent white 80%. What happens if we put 90%? I wonder if that changes anything. We add our topics. We go to preview. That did change it. I think 90% is good. So the majority of it will be, you know, kind of collapsed. And obviously, I mean, in my screen, everything looks so enlarged because my, you know, my real estate is limited since I'm streaming, and I want you to be able to see what's coded. And if I don't do that, well, I mean, we're gonna have a problem where you can't read anything on the screen. Ooh, let's change that, shall we? Questions. Yeah, that's better. Yeah, I think that looks good. And then when they click on that button, now the button is one thing that I'm not a big fan of. Has more items and is expanded. Expand icon. It's a button. Where is it getting an expand icon from? Oh, it's actually, yeah, let's see if we can find something in Fluent UI for the expand button. Let's go to styles. There's got to be something in here we can use for expanding. Maybe like a chevron down. It would be nice if I could find something like a circle with a chevron inside. Let's see what we find for chevron. Oops, not there. Yeah. I wonder. What does expand button have on it? Border radius 50%. This is what's making the circle. I think we can get rid of the expand icon. And then let's get rid of the expand icon here. Yeah, just do that for now. Add our topics. Go to preview. Yeah, so now inside here, you have to add an action button from Fluent UI. Yep. Action button. And the icon props is going to be icon name. And what's the name of the chevron down? Chevron down. Let's see what this does for us. Fingers crossed that it actually works. Let's add our topics. Preview. That is awesome. Look at that. That is awesome. I like that. That is what I needed it to do. I'm going to refresh it one more time. I'm going to close this toolbox. We add our topics. We go to preview, and here's our expand button. seeing things that it's still the same height, even though no, it does expand the height, which is what we want. The other thing that we have to also consider is that our users that are using this, go to this section, they can actually put it in 2 columns, and that's gonna look wonky. You know? I don't know that that's gonna look at our topics. And then we have a problem where I can't even get to. Yeah, that's a problem. We're gonna have to fix so that the users. There's another problem too, is that it retains the data even though I haven't even selected anything. So we need to update the on dispose to basically clear everything out. But I think this is good. I like this. We fix things. What else can be fixed? This could actually be another component. And instead of it being a div here, this could be I guess we can leave it as a div, but let's create a new component under custom components. Let's call this the expansion. Create a new file here. What are we gonna call it? Expand component. It's gonna import all as React from React. And it's just gonna be a React functional component. Move this to the side here. And this is going to. It doesn't really have anything that we need to import. We just definitely need to create the styles. Let's create a new file. Expand component module.scss. And what do we need from this component? Expand component from the tabbed. We're gonna need expand button container, expand button. So we're gonna need expand button container and expand button, which is this whole thing right here. Like that. We can save that. And let's go ahead and run build. Just so that it creates our CSS file. Okay, finished. All right, so here we can now import styles. Oh, we are gonna need some props. Let's go back to tabbed. We need set is expanded, and we also need to import the action button. Okay, so set is expanded. Where is that state? Where is that state coming from? Here we go. Set is expanded. I think we can do this differently. No, we need to do it this way. I was thinking we could use I'll talk about it in a moment. But I was thinking we could use like the use Boolean from Fluent. Then I thought about it. This isn't a toggle because it doesn't have it set up to where you can collapse it again. So that is expanded. Okay. And now here and here we can bring in expand component. And now let's clean this up. And let's go to tabbed. We don't need the what do we copy over? We need the expand button and the expand button container. We can get rid of those. Expand button container. Okay. And now we should have everything we need. Still will look the same, but we have cleaner componentry. So we go to preview. There it is. See? Click on the expand. And now I can reuse that expansion scenario. Like I can add that somewhere else. If I want to be able to toggle, and you know that now we've gotten really close to what this is going to look like, to what this example that we were working off of was working as. I go to topics, I add them, I go to preview, and look, it looks almost identical to our model that we were basically going for. So I think that this is a good stopping point. It is a Friday. I don't know, I can't think of anything else that we could add to it right now. I also like the fact that if it's like a small number of questions, it doesn't even have the expansion, so that's a good idea to not have it. But obviously if users create these really long questions with really long answers, then you have a problem, right? Where you come across an issue where users may not the users may have some really expensive question and answer. Yeah, so I think this is good. Another thing that we could probably do is add a little bit of I don't know, like something to make it a little bit more not jumpy, right? Because like right now when I switch, obviously most users are not gonna have like one question like this. They're gonna have several expanded. They can see the rest of the questions and answers. Now mind you, once the final product is created, the users are not gonna see these tabs at the top or this selector either. They're just gonna basically see this right here. So this is what their page would look like. Questions at the top, the 4 tabs, it'll look like this. Yeah, so it's gonna look very sharp, very clean. So user comes in, they're configuring their web part, and they want to get a glance at what it'll look like. This is what it's gonna look like with a expandable component that allows them to expand the question similar to our model, because our model is what we were striving to do. We were striving to go for something that had this concept in mind. And I think we can just add more layouts, right? So we can add more layouts. The next one is going to be the accordion. I'm thinking the accordion should be something like this, where you have you have the topic, and then you have your accordion, and then you have another topic, and then you have an accordion. Because that's the only one that I can see where we could also have it nested, right? Like we could have topic or the title of the web part, and then a topic, questions, topic and questions, and you just indent the questions a little bit deeper than you would have the original. Something like this. See how you have the topic and then you have the question and answer. Question answer. Question answer. Like the sky's the limit as to what you can build out. Honestly, there's a lot of things that you can build out. We're just on the first one. Can I do 33 of them? Technically, yes, but I'm not. I think we can build a few. Maybe even have something like, uh, something like this where you have title and number. That's another good view that we could do. So there's a lot of good options here that we could leverage. Yeah. But for the accordion one right now that we have, I think I already technically have a layout for that. So yeah, the accordion could be something like, so for the accordion, let's close this so we can get more real estate. So for the accordion, we actually have the, for the accordion, we actually have the card component, which is the accordion essentially. But I don't yet have something built out for the topic. It's been a bit of a long week anyway. So I think I'm gonna leave this for the next time that we meet. I think we made great progress. It's coming more and more along. So there's a couple of a couple of bugs that still needs, to be squished out, fixed. And I'll definitely be working on that. So definitely come back if you find, what we're covering valuable. This is really cool stuff, and I've mentioned this before. Like, you can actually work on this as a full stack developer, or working on this is React essentially, and you're learning React, and you're learning best practices, you're learning data fetching, you're learning a lot of different concepts that can apply for other things. Yes, this is SharePoint development, but I'm thinking about even maybe on the weekend adding a different stream, like something where like I go through the process of learning. Like, one of the things that I want to learn is what is that tool called? Tool is Docker. That's the one. I want to learn Docker. I want to be able to containerize applications. I actually been creating an application using Supabase, Docker, trying to implement Docker, and then I was using a React front end using React, 10 stack start, which is basically, I think it's, don't quote me like this, but I think 10 stack start is like built with like a shell with Vite inside. So 10 stack start. So with this is actually, you can build actual applications, and everything's already included, right? And then you can just expand to use query, router, table, forms. I mean, everything that you can think of is here. And I want to show you that you can leverage these same knowledge that I'm sharing with you for SharePoint. You can leverage that same knowledge, take it over, and work on something else, something different. We might be able to even create pages with these things on it. That the user can leverage. So this is SharePoint, yes, but like I said, a lot of this development stuff that I'm showing you, you can apply to other things. It doesn't necessarily just apply to this one scenario. So again, we'll strategize and figure out what I can. I'm gonna do some thinking over and see what we can do as far as learning and teaching other things beyond that of SharePoint. But that's it. That's gonna do it for me today, wherever you may be, whatever time zone you may be joining me from. I'd like to thank you for coding with me tonight, and I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.